Hello, welcome, Cabbage here. So let's talk about the global first anniversary livestream for War of the Visions. And it feels funny talking about it after being in it. But hopefully that was a fun surprise. I dropped a hint a couple days before and a few people picked up on it. And now you know why I delayed the mock guild battles video. I didn't want to spoil my team. But in this video, first I'll talk about the experience of joining. I won't cover most of what was announced since I made videos previously about it. I made a community post with a list of old videos, and I'll pin the same list here in the comments. But I'll talk about new stuff in the latter half of the video, stuff like Zazan and Tomb Raider. Justin contacted me a couple weeks ago through Reddit about appearing, and I waffled for a second. I don't really want to do collaboration videos with other content creators because I feel like there are people out there that just want to create drama between us, and I don't like that. It feels like paparazzi, people like exploiting me in order to entertain themselves. I am not here for anyone's entertainment. My videos are here for your entertainment, but not me. But the company asking me, that's a very rare opportunity, so I was like, yes, okay, I'll do it. And so Justin gave me the details of the friendly match, and let me tell you, I've never played my global account as hard as I did those 2 weeks leading up to the livestream. Someone guessed that I pulled the winter units to get ready for the livestream, but that timing doesn't line up. I pulled them before Justin contacted me. And I did actually get Vineta to 99 and Victora to 89 before the livestream, and I tested them, but ultimately I built from my vision cards and equipment. I looked at my strongest vision cards and equipment, and then I looked at my level 99 units, and I thought about what combination of things would all best take advantage of each other, and the team that I brought was the result. I'm still very confident in this team, especially against Dark Bros, and I was so sad that I got the worst possible matchup, Garvel right in front of my Kiton. So if you haven't already, go back and look at my previous mock guild battle video. I'm very proud of that team. And tangent here, but that's a good example of the unique fun that free-to-play users have, trying to figure out the best use of their limited resources and options. It's different from the whale experience where you are more writing the meta in real time, and you have more options to choose from. Whales get to exercise their imagination, while free-to-play users get to exercise their resourcefulness. When Apollo 13 had all those problems, and at NASA they dumped that box full of stuff onto the table, and they're figure out how to solve this problem with this stuff. That's what the free-to-play experience is like. The reason why I prefer to play as a whale, however, is for the flexibility. I just enjoy experimenting with different stuff and seeing how deep the game system goes, and I just don't have that freedom in my free-to-play on Global. But different types of fun, neither of them is more legit than the other. Okay, tangent over. So the day of the live stream arrived, I didn't know who else was going to be joining outside of Diggs, or even how many others would be joining, so I showed up and there was Palladia, who I knew from YouTube, and Degen, who I knew from Twitch. It was my first time using Zoom, and all three of them were very kind in teaching me the basics about that. That's also part of the reason why I haven't collaborated with anyone. I'm an old man, and I'm not good at technology. And then there was the live stream, and I couldn't see the comments because I was watching through Zoom, but that was how I wanted it anyway. I just wanted to concentrate on the MCs and the content creators. I tried to act more kind of subdued and professional, no vinegar, and I think the other content creators were thinking the same thing. In Japan there's a saying, TPO, meaning be aware of the time, place, and occasion, and act appropriately. I wasn't on my channel, so I wasn't going to act like my usual self, so sorry if I was even more boring than I usually am. It was strange during. I wasn't nervous, but maybe it was because I wasn't reading the comments. I wasn't imagining hundreds of people watching, and I also didn't feel like I had to perform or act. I felt pretty comfortable. And I was happy that I could use basically the same setup for YouTube, and that all of the battle stuff was handled by the company. I didn't have to do anything besides prepare a team. Probably the most nerve-wracking thing for me was getting Zoom to work. And then it ended. Unfortunately, I never got a chance to speak to Mr. Fujimoto Hiroki directly, because I respect him immensely. He is a legend in my mind. He was a producer on two incredibly unique games that I really enjoyed, EVO, Search for Eden, and Wonder Project J. But in the live stream, he was great. He was always so bright and cheerful and positive and warm. I felt like the entire live stream also had that atmosphere. And it was hilarious reading Japanese people's reactions to the global live stream. They were like, oh, we Japanese people are so gloomy and rigid. And I'm like, yes, you are. But overall, I felt like this live stream was more fun than most of the JP live streams. And Japanese folks were both mystified and jealous by how positive the atmosphere was, especially when they announced EX jobs. When they announced them in JP, it was like they killed a baby panda live on air. Everybody in the chat was horrified and furious. But that was the developers' own fault. They didn't explain it or sell it well at all. But in Global, we had people like Umber Rays and me that tested it and gave Global players fair warning about what was coming. I personally came to the conclusion that they aren't that bad investment-wise or that necessary power creep-wise. I guess Umber Rays is going to make a video soon talking about his feelings about EX jobs 4 months later, and I'm looking forward to that. But when they announced EX jobs in Global, people were better prepared. They understood it better, so they took it more in stride. I think that's all I have to say about the live stream. It was tons of fun to be a part of. I hope they do many more global live streams. I hope they get more content creators involved. And I will say that it was incredibly long, but that was probably because they were basically saying everything twice in English and Japanese, so it can't be helped. Alright, so let's turn to what they announced. There was a Q&A, and right off the bat they addressed the crashes, which I thought was good. The first year of Global has been very smooth, minus the manufactured drama. But the crashes, that's kind of the biggest screw-up of the Global version now. But to be honest, there's really not much that they can say other than, we are aware, we are working on it, we cannot take responsibility for non-native devices or platforms. We're sorry, thank you for your patience. There was also a question about MR and lower rarity units. That content is coming. It started with Tower, it'll continue with 3-star Esper fights, and then it'll get serious with selection quests. And then the reason why it took this long for this content to come was because everybody's accounts weren't ready. I think back on when they talked about the first limited guild battles, they considered doing like MR and lower rarity only guild battles, but they looked at everybody's accounts and they saw that people didn't have enough units leveled up to make it work. So yeah, don't worry, developers are releasing content as the players are more ready for it. And then they had some messages from the voice actors, which was awesome. I think everybody enjoyed that. Now, I have strong opinions on voice acting for Japanese multimedia, but I want to make clear that I have lots of respect for non-Japanese voice actors. They are talented, they are passionate, they work hard. They are not to blame for cringy performances. The voice acting directors are the people that I blame. I'm going to get on my soapbox again here, but Japanese voice acting is an art, and the nuances in the performances speak volumes to fans that get it. It's like hardcore wine fans, picking up notes of like pepper and vanilla or whatever. And like the majority of Japanese people don't understand the subtleties of good voice acting. So if you have a foreign voice acting director that is not a massive fan of voice acting, or if, God forbid, they don't even speak Japanese, how can you expect them to get good performances out of actors? And there might even be setups where the voice actors just like have a script and like maybe a picture of the character. That's essentially no direction, and the voice actors are shooting in the dark, and you lose aspects of the original performance. You are not communicating the full message, the full character. And some people have been very kind in suggesting that I should do voice work, but I think I would be better as a director because I better understand those nuances. But sometimes the casting is so perfect that no direction is needed, and I think we saw that in Zazan's voice actor. He was pretty amazing, wasn't he? He was so charismatic that I couldn't help smiling throughout his entire message. It reminded me of like Balthier in Final Fantasy XII, or Wedge in Final Fantasy VII-R, really talented actors, but also a voice that fits the character and communicates something accurate about the character that just words cannot. And speaking of Zazan, we got the reveal of the drawing of the fan vote version, and he looks amazing, way beyond any expectations that I had. There are so many things that I love about this redesign, but what I love most is that smile. That makes the character, and it shows that the artist and the art director really understand the character. And that's another example of the importance of a good director. And fashion check, but I like how clean he looks. In the N rarity version, he looks very patchy and rugged and earth-toned, which is great. But here he is much more chic and all black. It might be leather or maybe waxed cotton. Kind of a biker, rock star, John Varvatos, Chrome Hearts look, but going overboard with the sterling silver jewelry. It's probably iron, but the idea of like a fancy clubbing Zazan is just too funny, so if you ask me, it's all sterling silver. If you had some turquoise stones in there somewhere, I would have died. What's also hilarious is the exposed midriff. In Japan, it's a common thing that some Japanese women go crazy for, and it's usually reserved for bad boys like Ban from Seven Deadly Sins or Rairyu from War of the Visions. And so basically Zazan is being billed as a sex symbol here. What's doubly hilarious, however, is that those exposed midriff characters are usually young and slim, and Zazan is not young and slim at all, so it's almost a parody of the sexy bad boy trope. Global players voted for him partly as a joke, and the developers returned the favor with their own joke. I love all of this, and if you needed evidence that the team is taking special pains for Global, here it is. Thinking back on the fan vote, I personally didn't care who won, but I was so baffled by all the JP votes for like Gurasida and the global votes for El Shirel. You understand what you're voting for, right? Did you read the instructions? You're voting for a new version, not the main story version. If you want the main story version, voting for that unit is not going to move up their release date. Just wait a couple months, it's coming. And then for the folks who voted for Mont in both versions, did they really think that Mont was never going to get a UR form? And like, if we had a fan vote again today, how many people would vote again for Gurasida, El Shirel, or Mont? Not many, I think, because they misunderstood the vote and voted for the main story versions, and now they have them. And then if we had the vote again today, how many people would misunderstand it again and vote for like Sadari or Jaden? Which was why I was so glad that Zazan won, and like Leela got a lot of votes, because there was a real chance they would never get another version. Well, maybe Leela was assured, but Zazan, yeah. Like, can we reasonably expect UR versions for Kadia, O, Balo, units like that? At this rate, I don't think so, which is why votes for them are so important. It might be their only chance at a UR version. Alright, finally, let's talk about Tomb Raider. I was amazed how many noobs were afraid that Tomb Raider was going to take the spot of Final Fantasy X or Nier. But perhaps the developers knew that the noobs would get whipped up, so they decided to play them, and yes, they got played. I was not played, because I actually know this industry. But when it comes to collaboration announcements, it's usually all or nothing, and this slide was a big fat nothing. If they had something, anything to show, they would have, so I knew then that the Tomb Raider collaboration was still a ways away. Alright, that turned vinegary at the end, forgive me, but nothing drives me crazier than people that don't know what they're talking about, saying whatever it is in their biggest voice. It's like foreigners come in to live in Japan for the first time, and after a month, they are lecturing Japanese people how and why they are wrong on this and this and this, and that they should change things that have been that way for decades, sometimes centuries. You can observe a lot by watching, as Yogi Berra famously said, and I wish more people would take some time to watch before shooting off their mouth. Like, I'm able to confidently say that this was a very smooth first year of Global War of the Visions, because I know what smooth times looks like in mobile games, and I also know what rough times looks like. Okay, I think that'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again. Take care.